my friends, and welcome to Questions. We get together like this every once in a while and answer the questions, very provocative and interesting questions that those of you who follow this series send in. And we try to do our best to make sense out of most anything that you ask us about. And so here we go again. So Terry says, you're always talking about this new world, but what are some of the things that are pushing us in that direction? Well, there's a bundle of things happening. We're working our way up an exponential curve of change. And that exponential curve is defined by breakthroughs stacked on top of breakthroughs on top of breakthroughs. And so what you need to look around and say, is there anything significant that's happening in terms of our understanding and our awareness? Well, certainly I can tell you that there are breakthroughs in terms of energy production. And I have mentioned here in the past that I've attended a couple of conferences in the summertime where people specialize in terms of these emerging new ideas and over unity energy and magnetic motors and other such things. And I can tell you for sure, I've seen devices that are really working. The question is, how do you get them commercialized without getting killed in the process? Because these things are obviously threatening to the larger kind of economic system and the powers that be. One of the things I'm most interested in is how the fundamentals are changing. That is to say, food and water and power, electricity, and I don't know, education and transportation. Some of the really fundamental things that support everything in the way we live on this planet. And so if you work your way across that, as I said, you can certainly see changes in power and the ability to generate electricity. A lot of this stuff is derived from work that was patented, as a matter of fact, and generated by Nikola Tesla. And then there is things happening in terms of water. I have friends who have got extraordinary devices that will take a 5-inch pipe with water flowing through it, and it will either desalinize it or extract all of the pollutants out of it on the fly, just with the power of a small solar collector that's generating the kind of power for a battery that supports this. It has huge implications for places where they need water for agriculture, as well as potable water as well. And if you look across the things like 3D manufacturing, and people and there are companies that are literally manufacturing a whole home in like 2 days by using this 3D manufacturing. Extruded concrete is what they do with it, and so on. There are also some extraordinary kind of things that are happening in really kind of fundamental kind of understanding of how this reality works. One in particular that's coming up here, that's coming to Transition Talks on the 22nd of October here, is Dr. Rainer Weiwiger, who's coming over from Germany. Rainer is an amazing, he's an orthopedic surgeon to start with, but he's one of the foremost kind of communicators and thinkers about global scaling, and the idea that everything in this reality is held together, sustains the unique kind of character that we see and understand it is based upon a very simple kind of basic relationship. Think of it this way: if if you have a tuning fork, bang, and and you hold it up and it vibrates. And if you have another one that's that same thing, say this one's the key A, and this one is a E and A, and you put them up together like this one. When this one is vibrating, this one will begin to vibrate sympathetically from being in the area of the first one. That vibration is used in a number of situations, initially by Royal Rife, to do destructive decomposition of things. Nikola Tesla, in fact, showed that you could do this, just a little thumper on the side of a skyscraper, and it would just over a period of time start the thing moving and moving, and so much so that he had to stop it because the whole building would have come down. That turns out to be the case in medicine. Royal Rife figured out that every cell and type of cell in your body, cancer and other types, all have a unique kind of signature. They have a unique waveform that has a core, a basic frequency. And if you can set up a transmitter, essentially, that transmits energy at that frequency of this cell, this cancer cell, for instance, it will sympathetically vibrate and it will explode. And so what that means is, in kind of fundamental terms, is that the reason why this pen looks like a pen to you and to me, and that you can feel it and it holds itself together, is that none of the component parts of this pen, going all the way down to the literal atoms and the molecules, are in the same frequency, because if they were in the same frequency, the things would go apart rather than hold together. And the reason that it holds together is because this and everything else you see is related to this basic fundamental kind of notion that's that says that everything scales. It's all fractal like, in that it none of it is intrinsically kind of resonant, because if it was resonant, it would come apart rather than hold together and be balanced. And what that means in larger terms, which is really fascinating to me, is that because it's universal, right? And so you can look at, if you're going to build a new world, which I'm interested in doing, if you build a new world and you're looking for how would you build institutions? How would you build personal relationships? How would you build healthcare and other kinds of things? All of those are, when they get out of sorts or out of sync, if you will, it's because that basic underlying relationship is threatened in one way or another. So if you were buying, or if you were going to design a new one, if you understood this, you could build the relationship so that you knew that it was going to be compatible and that it was going to be balanced going forward. That's a huge, big, deep idea. And Rainer's going to come and talk about that here on the 22nd. So I hope that if you're interested in this, that you come or join us by live stream. But there's a variety of these kinds of things coming down stream if you keep an eye out for them. And they all suggest that we're moving into quite a big new direction. That is going to be quite different than what we are all familiar with right now. My friend Hal Taylor says he's developed a personal theory to explain CO2 increasing behind global warming. What Hal's talking about is the fact that when you do the ice corings that are down in Antarctica and then Greenland and Vostok, and you go way down, they go back about, I think, 418,000 years or something like that. And you look at the composition at each year of the atmosphere that has been captured in these cores. What you find out is that unlike what they'd like you to believe in terms of the folks who say that it's all global warming and humans are doing it, what you find out is that that every time that there's a shift in terms of CO2, it comes behind a shift in temperature. That is to say, the temperature changes first, and then something like 800 years later, more or less, then the CO2 changes. And so the CO2 changes are the product or the result of the temperature change. And Hal's got a theory, and he says when CO2 increases, but plant life and trees and everything proliferate. That's well known in agriculture. If you want to get a really bumper crop in your greenhouse, you pump carbon dioxide in there. And that's what he's saying. So he says, here's the feedback cycle. Temperature on the earth increased, something beyond what it was. The planet responds by increasing CO2. Why does it do that? Because it increases plant growth. What happens to the plants and the trees? Well, the energy is converted from CO2. It takes the CO2 in the form of wood. Where does the energy come from? It comes from the atmosphere, from the CO2. This causes a modest reduction in temperature because of the change of energy, the state of the energy. Thus, the increase in CO2 post-temperature increase is the Earth's method of bringing the temperature back into the desired range. Without CO2, the Earth would not reduce the temperature. Pretty interesting idea, Hal. It makes sense to me. So here's Joanna McMillan says, I'm curious about the connection you and Gregg have with Elon Musk. Gregg has referenced Elon a couple of times in his presentations, and recently you spoke about a Tesla conference both of you were going to attend. I was just wondering what you would have in common with Elon. Thank you so much, love and light. Well, Joanna, I have no connection with Elon Musk, and I don't believe Gregg has any connection with Elon Musk. And the Tesla conference I went to was not the car Tesla. It's about the Tesla, the inventor, where the name from the car is derived from. And so it has nothing to do with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is an interesting guy. He might be, you may not like his ideas at all, or, partially, whatever clearly he's got some issues that I'm not much of a fan of, but he's influential and he's an out of the box kind of thinker. And so you ought to think about it. He thinks about things a lot of people don't think about. And so that's why I'm sure Gregg is interested in him, and and so am I at arm's length, but I don't know the man. We look at them all, and I try to get together once a month and try to answer some of these things. And I particularly hope that if you found some of this information about this global scaling, which is really fascinating, that you'll come on the 22nd of October and hear Dr. Rainer Baywager, and or join us by live stream, because it's going to be a great, very interesting session. So take care. Thank you. If you found that helpful and interesting, and you haven't done so already, why don't you just click on the link below and give us your email so that we can send you alerts for the next segments of Postscript. We'd love to be able to tell you beforehand when things are coming downstream, so you don't have to go look for them. And this is the best way to do that. We assure you that we won't share your information with anyone else. Thanks.